Understanding how language functions within a society requires taking a step back and look at the historical implications of one's life. San Antonio's story is one that is consistent with the use of language in my family. The varieties of both Spanish and English spoken by natives of the Rio Grande Valley are unique in that they function in both a diglossic manner, where English is the preference of trade and education, as well as thrive while code switching or Tex-Mex is the norm. Downtown San Antonio on a weekend showcases the joining of cultures. One can hear sounds of Spanish trade and mariachis and turn around to reveal the skyline of a synonymously American city. A trip across the Commerce Bridge takes you from the well-known downtown skyline to the historically Mexican West Side. While not an autonomous area, the west side of San Antonio holds on to and proudly displays signage in Spanish and prefers to mimic the architecture to traditional Mexican structures. If one did not know where that they were in Texas or in San Antonio for that matter, they would assume that Spanish, not English, was the lingua franca, though in many cases it is. Again, downtown personifies the historical roots that define speakers in Texas today. Mexican identity in the area was established by both Native Americans as well as Spanish conquistadores. Following the revolution from Mexico by settlers in the area, English became the established norm that continues to this day. As a member of the United States, Texas has no official language, though English continues to be the established high variety. I would argue, though, Spanish continues to shape many parts of our society. A century after the establishment of Texas as we now know it, I began to find photographic support of my family's journey. My great-grandmother, native of San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, spoke Spanish through, though her vernacular included a hint of Native American influence, a variety that has shifted drastically over the past generations leading to mine. My maternal grandparents, both born in the United States, Texas and Wyoming respectively, worked as migrant workers in the agricultural field and only spoke, or in my grandmother's case, speak Spanish. My grandfather's side of the family was not very welcoming to her in the beginning of the relationship because the variety of Spanish that she spoke was not what they considered to be a high variety because of her Texas influence. Ironically, all of their children, including my mother, speak English as the preferred language, mostly due to restrictions in school. My paternal grandparents, both natives of my hometown, Mercedes, Texas, are bilingual and speak English and Spanish fluently. My grandfather, a musician, spent much of his life touring and thus picked up a different variety of English, heavily Southern influenced. Among my brothers, only my older brother and I speak both fluent English and Spanish. He because he was raised heavily by my maternal grandparents, and I because I toured a lot with my grandfather. My two younger siblings don't speak Spanish regularly. Looking at language from a macro perspective, one can see that linguistic imperialism exists in the Mexican-American culture. The more one becomes educated, the less they tend to associate with the Spanish language, in my family at least. I prefer to see myself as the outlier in that paradigm. I live and freely associate with all things American, including my love of sports and including basketball and football. However, my major choice has allowed me to explore spaces including the National Association for Chicano and Chicana Studies. Here, the use of language is highly debated and the paradigm of the only English movement is often challenged. Stepping back, one can see that the variation of language seen in a highly Mexican-American household, such as mine, are a product of history. As education becomes more attainable for generations following mine, language is sure to shift, possibly in ways that are considered a better avenue to success.